Hello, welcome back to Herbast's Kitchen. Today I've decided to get up nice and early and I'm going to make a little surprise for Lara. It's one of her favourite treats. Today I'm going to show you how to make pretzels. So a couple of years ago, Lara and I took a road trip down to Munich to celebrate Oktoberfest. We drove all the way down there in the campervan. We took in France, Belgium, even Luxembourg, and then into Germany, which was a fantastic trip. One of the things that we sort of miss about not being in Germany is pretzels. It's one of the treats that you can sort of pick up anywhere in Germany. It just so happens that most of them are vegan as well, so I decided to try and have a go at making our own, and this is what I came up with. So you do need to allow the dough to rise for an hour once you've made it, so you have to take that into account. Other than that, it's a nice and easy recipe with a little bit of technical work with the sort of kneading the dough, but that's it. So I'm going to finish my coffee and we'll talk about the ingredients. So I'm using the fast acting yeast, which I usually use for all my bread, so you don't need to sort of activate it or anything like that. It's just a teaspoon straight into the flour, and then just sort of lukewarm water, which you should be able to dip your little finger in it and sort of, it shouldn't feel hot or cold, it should feel just the same temperature as your finger. I've separated the ingredients into the dough and then the cooking, so it's just a little bit easier, so we use the dough ingredients just to make the dough now, and then after an hour we'll use the rest of the ingredients. So just a couple of other things that we need. We need a mixing bowl. Obviously you can mix your dough in that. Then a large saucepan, try and pick your largest available saucepan. We're going to actually boil the baking powder in that, and that will provide a nice coating for the pretzels before they go into the oven. And then finally, just a couple of baking sheets or baking trays, just enough to take 8 pretzels, because that's how many this recipe makes. Okay, so let's now make a start. So I'm just going to start by obviously setting the scales. So we just add the flour straight into the bowl, so that's the 300 grams or 2.5 cups. And then to that is just the 7 grams of the yeast. So remember the fast acting yeast. That's about, it's a sachet if you're buying a sachet, or a teaspoon. Just drop some salt in there as well. See the salt. We will put some salt straight on top of the pretzels at the end as well, so don't need to use too much in there. And then the sugar, so it's 60 grams or 1/4 cup. So we can then just start adding the water. So what I like to do is go for the sort of 150 mils to start with, and just literally just pour it straight in. When I'm sharing these recipes that involve yeast and flour, I always give a range rather than an actual figure for the amount of water that you need, because obviously different flours absorb at different rates. Best to start with 150, and then you can get it to sort of a nice, it will be obviously a little bit sticky to start with, but you start to bring it together, take up all the flour that's on the bottom of the bowl. Just give it a good mix. Use a wooden spoon if you don't want to get your hands too sort of mucky, but it will all come off eventually. So just once that's all together, you can then just add a little bit more water, and the idea obviously is just to take up all of the loose flour. You should just be able to take up any sort of flour that's stuck to the sides of the bowl. So once that's all come together nicely, you should have still sort of a little bit sticky, but you should just be able to sort of move it around and then just start sort sort of kneading it. So you just need to knead it just for sort of 3 or 4 minutes. You don't need to, it doesn't need to be too stretchy, this dough. It's just a case of bringing it together and just giving it a little bit of elasticity. Just push it into the table, fold it over, press it back in, and push it into the table, stretch it away from you, fold it over, push it back into itself, and then just turn it 90 degrees and do the same. You just need to do that for, as I say, 3 to 4 minutes continuously. And you should find that during that time it will soften and it won't be as sticky by the end of it. So as I said, you can now start to see that coming together. It's softened up and you can press it and it sort of bounces back. So that's a sign that it's sort of becoming sort of elastic. And just give it a little bit of spring, which you'll need for it to rise. There we are, so 3 to 4 minutes done. And you can just sort of roll it up into a ball. And then just drop it into your tub. And you just now need to leave it to rise just for no more than an hour, just enough for it to sort of increase in size a little bit. It doesn't need to be sort of double or anything, just a little bit bigger, and we'll come back. So that's been about an hour now, and the dough has doubled in size roughly. And so all I need to do is start knocking that back. So you literally just sort of punch it down and just take all the air out of it, and then you can start just sort of peeling it away from the bowl, and again just sort of fold it in on itself. Take it out of the bowl. So you might need a bit of flour if your dough's a little bit sticky. Flour here. Just sort of lightly flour the surface that you're going to just roll it out on. So just turn it in on itself, and you should be able to hear the air coming out of it. So you can do it with scales if you like, or you can just keep halving it until you have 8 pieces. So I've just got 2 halves there. Halve them again, and then halve them again. So just get them all separately. What we need to do now is, as I said just now, just roll them out, roll each individual piece out, and they should end up being about ½ an inch or sort of just over 1 centimetre thick. And I find that usually will get up to about 1 foot long, or just over. So this is where, if you flour the surface, it will be a little bit more difficult to roll out, because you want it to be a little bit sticky at this point, so that it stays where it is as you're rolling it. But as it is, I've floured it, so it will gradually absorb the flour anyway. And you can see that's just getting longer. And it's going to be well over 1 foot. And there we go. So we need to do 8 of those. Before I go any further, I'm going to actually start preheating the oven. That needs to be 200 centigrade or 180 fan assisted. I've got the trays ready, and I'm just going to coat those in coconut oil, ready for the next stage. So as I said, 8 of these long strips, Now, a good technique when you're doing something like this is obviously start sort of rolling with your hands together and then just slowly move them apart. That sort of stretches the dough but keeps it all a sort of uniform thickness all the way along. Now you can see I've got two different lengths here. It doesn't really matter, it just means the pretzels will be different sizes, so that's where you'd benefit from actually weighing out as you're cutting them apart. You'd benefit from actually weighing them out to make sure they're the same weight. But life isn't perfect, so let's just go with these as they are. Okay, so that's the 8 strips rolled out. I try not to sort of handle them too much until we need them, because they're obviously quite delicate and soft. So before we start, we're just going to leave those for just a couple of minutes, and then we need to bring the 7 cups of water, or about 1.6 litres, up to the boil with the baking powder. Pour some water in. So I've got a gauge in here luckily, so I'll just put it up to the 1.6. Just get that lit, so that should come to the boil fairly quick. And it was half a cup, which I think is most of that jar. You see that's foamed up pretty well straight away. I'm going to take the heat down. Okay, so you don't need to add all of that in straight away. It's just starting to get a bit lively, so yeah, so what I'm doing is just putting half of it in and then I can just add the other half. What you should find is it will start to, you can see it's foamed up, and that's what you want. You want it sort of foamy, like all the sort of carbonated bubbles should be just start sort of bubbling away, and then that will give us the coating we need to put these into the oven. So just while that's coming up to the boil, I'm going to show you how to actually fold a pretzel. What you need to do is just make sure it's sort of not stuck to the surface or anything. Loosen it up a little bit so you've got it stretched out, and then you need to just make a circle and then overlap the ends. And where the ends sort of overlap, just have a little bit of excess there. Press them together so they sort of stick together. And then you need to sort of twist that around so you're kind of intertwining them, and then fold it over so that those two ends meet the rest of the circle like this. And then again just press it in like that. Because I've floured these, they're not going to stick perfectly, but it should be okay. You should just be able to squeeze them together like so. So we've got the pretzel shape. It's a little bit flimsy. So from there we can just drop it straight into the bicarbonate water. It'll probably disappear. We just need to leave it in there for about 30 seconds, and then when it comes out it can go straight onto the baking tray. If you find the dough isn't sort of sticking to itself, you just sort of wet your fingers with a little bit of water, and that'll just give it a little bit of stickiness like that. It can be a bit fiddly, this job, but it's definitely worth it in the end. The results are sort of delicious pretzels, so why wouldn't it be worth it? So before I put this third pretzel into the saucepan, obviously there's no room because there's 2 in there already. I'm just going to take the first one out because it's been 30 seconds. So you can see that that's bulked up quite a lot already. All I need to do is just drop that onto the oiled baking tray, and I can put this third one in there, get it in there, get it coated, start on the next one. And that one's ready, so we'll just take this third one out as well. It's important to not leave them in there for too much longer than 30 seconds because they then start to collapse. Okay, so the last two are just coming out now. So you can see I've had to expand onto 2 trays. It's best to spread these out because they will expand a little bit in the oven. They'll rise, so you don't want them to sort of rise together. So give them a little bit of space, an inch or so either side. And now just drop that away and then take the heat off. So they're ready to go into the oven now. They only need about 10 to 12 minutes in the oven. But before they do go in, I'm just going to just put some salt on top of them. You can obviously put salt, pepper, whatever you like on top of them at this point. Traditionally they actually just use like the proper coarse unground crystals, so you can tip them out like this and just drop some bigger ones on top, and then you give them their nice sort of salty flavour. And there we go. So I'll then put them in the oven. And just give those, as I said, 10 to 12 minutes. They should start to go sort of golden brown colour. Obviously if they start to go like dark brown, that's when they're definitely ready. I'd get them out before that point if you can. I'll see you in 10 minutes. So that's all of those baked now. So I'm just going to leave those to cool for about 10 minutes, just on a rack. So when I mentioned earlier on about not leaving the pretzels in the boiling water for too long, just so you know, just to sort of show you, oh, they're a bit hot. This is what sort of happens. You can see they're not quite as sort of puffy as the others. Still taste the same. It'll be a little bit more dense. That's all. So that's a sort of good lesson. You know, that's one that's been properly boiled, and that one was just left a little bit too long. So as you can see, they're now ready to serve, and I'm going to serve those for breakfast alongside a nice oat milk coffee.
Morning.
Good morning. Breakfast is served.
Pretzels. Can I have one?
Of course you can.
And you made coffee.
There we go. What more can I go on?
Oh my god, these are so good.
So there you have it, there's the pretzels, ready to go. You can probably hear Lara munching away in the background. We're going to go off and enjoy those for our breakfast now. So that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please do have a go at it at home. If you do, leave any feedback in the comment section down below. Also remember to like and subscribe. Check out our website for any other recipes that you've seen. There's some good bread recipes on there now, so check those out. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Take care, have a lovely day.